have you on your favorite show, Inside Nigeria, this morning. My name is Tion Joseph, and as usual, I'll be walking you through major stories from 5 different Nigerian dailies. And by the rule of thumb, I'd like to start with Nigeria's most influential newspaper this morning, which is the Leadership newspaper. And on Leadership this morning, the major story says Queen Elizabeth II, world bids farewell to Her Majesty. I take that again. Queen Elizabeth II, world bids final farewell to Her Majesty. You can find that story on page 4. Moving down there, the first bullet on Leadership this morning says King Charles fight back tears as Queen's coffin is lowered into royal vault. Next bullet says Biden, Macron, trust lead other world leaders to the final rights. And the very last bullet on Leadership this morning says country's solidarity, testament of brotherhood, Osibanjo. That is all we'll be taking on Leadership this morning. Let's move briskly on to the next Nigerian daily. And on my list, I have the Vanguard. And on the Vanguard this morning, the major story says some PDP governors, leaders working for Tinubu source. You can read that story on page 5 of the Vanguard newspaper. Moving down there, not true, says Atikus Ali. Tinubu names Akeredolu, Southwest Campaign Coordinator. Tinubu Shetima ticket will promote indivisibility of Nigeria group. That is all we'll be taking on the Vanguard this morning. Moving on to the next paper, we have the Punch. And the Punch is also talking about Queen Elizabeth. It says Queen Elizabeth's funeral, world leaders, over 4 billion audience bid farewell. You can find that story on page 2. Moving down there, the first bullet says trust Boris Johnson, Blair, 4 other ex-prime ministers pay last respect. Moving down there, says Obasanjo eulogizes late queen, says she carried herself with dignity. And the very last bullet on the Punch this morning says we look forward to a prosperous reign. Osibanjo tells King Charles III. Moving on to the Nation, which concludes our headlines review this morning, says federal government plans salary raise to cushion inflation effects. Moving down there, the last and final bullet for the Nation this morning says Oshomole knocks governors not paying 30,000 naira monthly wage. I'll take that again. Oshomole knocks governors not paying 30,000 naira monthly wage. That is all we'll be having on the newspaper review this morning. But don't go just yet because David Tucker is in the house with his guest to do justice to these stories and much more. We crave your indulgence to join us again 10 a.m. tomorrow morning for these stories and much more. My name is Tion Joseph. Do have a great day.
For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word. For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.
Inside Nigeria, keeping you informed on what matters.
Hello, good morning, and welcome to Inside Nigeria on Leadership Podcast. My name is Taka David, your host on today's edition. Today's edition is unlike other editions. We have two guests in the house, and to my right, we have Mr. Adefolarin Olamilekun, a public affairs analyst who will be doing justice to some of the stories. And to my left, we have an APC stalwart, Mr. Honorable Lateef Okinwumi Olawumi. Mr. Olawumi is an APC loyalist. Of course, he will be speaking to us on some of the APC big stories that have made the day. We have a public affairs analyst here who will give us another perspective to those stories. And we will start with looking at those stories from the stories that made the day from our national dailies. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us. Thanks for listening.
All right, we'll begin with the Leadership newspaper. And Leadership leads with the story on the Queen Elizabeth II's burial. You know, the funeral was held yesterday. And the big story, they said the what bids final farewell to Her Majesty. You know, yesterday we had a lot of interesting stories, and I'll begin with you. I don't know if you followed the funeral from the beginning to when she was laid to rest. And then today we have the world has gone to bid her farewell. What is your take?
Actually, I did, although I was having some media interview in between the period that they were filming the program on national TV as well as on private television as well international TV. Although it shows the majesty, popularity, it shows the majesty, swag, as we normally call it in local parlance, all across the world, that show that the British royal family are still the number one family that the entire world normally look at and see as an emblem of either you are seeing it as an emblem of reminding us of colonialism, or you are seeing as an emblem of what structure or that further capitalism across the world, or as an emblem that what represents the British empire as a whole. So they show it to us yesterday, and to it all, it shows that the world still have respect for the British royal family as well as the UK government as it stands.
All right. That's interesting, but there was something that came out about the way African leaders were treated. I know we don't have it on the cover of our paper.
Exactly.
I don't know if you have any comments.
Sorry, when the news, that particular news about other world leaders kept in the box, and the US president as a whole having his own a special vehicle flown into UK and used to convey him to the Federal Center. On the one thing which must quickly say this, the moment I saw the news, I was like, for people who were arguing that, I said, there's no difference between UK and US. Who created US? It is UK. More than half of the population of the present US that we are seeing, their generation after generation came all the way from UK. So nobody should argue that whether it is because they are maltreating certain people or not. But the key thing is this.
But there was a reason for that treatment.
Exactly. It's not a treatment per se, but to manage over 500,000 population of people who visited, who are on ground for that particular burial ceremony. It's huge. And beyond that, security-wise, we also consider that. But from the perspective that people who see it as so it is a maltreatment, is more or less like, okay, why, who sent them there? That's the local people are saying the local parliament.
Before you even conclude, there was a reason. The King Charles gave the reason for restricting some of the why he denied people flying with private jets.
Exactly.
It's climate related. You can't be fighting climate change and still be flying how many
thousands
into the UK.
Although that's the excuse.
And that's it.
But ordinary Africans don't understand that perspective. That's why I said.
So we need to first of all understand that the fight against climate change it's a serious one that people should not even take it for. If you're not taking it seriously, the West is taking it because they are bearing the brunt.
Exactly.
Yes, we complain of a flood here and there, but to what extent? And then you now look at the weather.
Exactly.
When they are complaining about heat wave, we look and we are like, we always have this period from March thereabouts. Exactly. So we are used to it, and it doesn't bother us. So these are some of the reasons that if the papers may not even present those reasons, but Nigerians need to understand that there was a reason behind that. Management
of the crowd.
There's a reason behind that. So you should not think it's because they think your people are not
important. To the point that there was a video that was trending about the recently sworn Kenyan president. That look at the way William Ruto was laughing.
So I don't understand what it's the way the Africans reason is not the way the white man thinks. So people should just try to make. If you see such stories, you should try to go behind the story. Okay, beyond this headline, beyond this. Okay, how comes? What happened before we got to this place? And there are other big stories on the the cover of this paper. But for details of these stories, can visit leadership visit our online or social media handles, and then you get to read some of the stories. There's a story of the shutdown of airports in Lagos and all this. So we're moving to the Vanguard newspaper, and the lead story here is on on politics. Some PDP governors, leaders working for Tinubu. That's according to a source. And so this is an interesting story. I'm coming to you as a public affairs analyst. But first of all, I want to hear from Mr. Olawumi. The source here says some PDP governors and leaders are working for Tinubu. As an APC stalwart, what is your take on this story? Is it a welcome development, or how do you feel reading this kind of stories?
Well, that's a good one.
Okay, for you.
Ordinarily, that ought to have been expected. Knowing fully the goings among the PDP leaders, the Wike, for example, and possibly the governor of your state, and some other governors that were not happy with the goings within their PDP. So I believe it's unfortunate that Nigerian politics is not that really defined. Well, defined, and we just do things just in the interest of, and just anyone, ourselves. For a PDP, if actually our parties are following possibly the laid down rules within the part and the constitution of the country, we will not just find people at any time just thinking their interest, their only selfish interest should be protected. Whereas an APC person, I'm happy, but at the same time, we should look at it from the general perspective that at the end of it all, it only goes to tell us that we will hardly get it right when at any given point in time you do things in your own selfish interest. It's a good one, I would say. And yes, I will keep saying that it's a good one for a party, but it may not be so good. Look at Governor Wike, for example, who had, pitched wherever against the APC, said quite a number of things, and some other members of their party, the PDP, that made this government, because the present Buhari government probably would have done much better if, as we all know, part of characteristics of a government is a good one is acceptability. For many Nigerians from the onset, given the kind of contributions on the part of the PDP leaders, negative ones to this government at the initial stage, which made the government, the people of this country, to have misconception about the leadership of President Muhammadu Buhari, and that to a great extent affected the activities of the party APC. Now, if these same people are now singing praises, and they're singing praises of our party, it means a lot. But I would once again say again that I'm happy that they are coming, that will give us a edge, because the coming president of this country, our Senator the Jagaban Tinubu, well, of course, will do a lot better, and will reposition the country on a great pedestal.
All right, that's an but let me just remind you that the people in PDP working are doing anti-party politics. I don't know what gives you that room to say you welcome the development, but I want to hear from.
I think Mr. Latif has spoken as a politician.
Okay.
He has spoken as someone who is concerned about
the interest of his own political party.
So there are two things we normally talk about politics. Politics is about interest, politics is about aggregation, politics is about negotiation, politics is about bargaining. And the seat of power, everybody that is seeing it jostling here and there, is trying as much as possible to negotiate in the next government, either it is APC, it is Labour Party, or it is PDP. They are negotiating their way to secure their wealth come 2023 and thereafter. That is what is playing out. But to the parties is this. Nigerian political parties or party politics in Nigeria has always been bedeviled by three characteristics. One, ethnicity, religious setting, as well as poor internal democratic development. And that's alone contributes.
Should we have those things, religions, all this? Should those things play a major role if we had good governance system in this country?
There, in Africa, let's put it this way, politics is played locally. In Europe, that you are seeing, even though religion, ethnicity is not being pinpointed as a flagship of what determines how positions are being shared in their governance, there are certain characteristics that determine that. In Africa, religion and ethnicity always determine that foreground of
how has that helped us?
How has that helped? Yeah.
It has not helped us in a way, in the sense that we have always looked at it as the base of how to launch out into the governance and economic system. And that is it. It's the interest that is playing out between PDP governors who are working underground to support Tinubu or support APC, are only doing one thing. What will be their final interest come after 2023? What will be their own way of gaining, or at the seat of power, what will be their own interest? You get it? But the thing that will drive that into play is one, their ethnic background and their religious setting. He made mention of Makinde. Makinde is from where?
From the south.
So what is he trying to do?
Protecting the interest of the zone.
His own and himself at large. Then the other guys are working with Wiki. What is the grudge of Wiki against Atiku and against PDP? That the presidency should be zoned to the south, and they're jettisoning that and she's zoning to the north. And what is bringing all the Buhari in the party? Ethnicity. So you can see how we are able to understand. These are the things that shape the understanding of how politicians think. One, they think first about their religious setting. Two, ethnicity. Then the third thing is that in the overall, their interests come to play.
So looking at this whole thing, how do you look at the fate of APC? People have criticized the APC tickets. People have criticized using a lot of yardsticks. So as an analyst, what is the fate? How do you look at the APC? How do you think they will perform in the next?
The thing is very shaky.
Campaign is going to start very
well. I think one of the headlines yesterday, someone was saying it's very difficult to even market the APC presidential candidate. Very, very difficult to market it. But the key thing is this. I have always told people on other platforms that I had the opportunity to speak on this particular 2020 election is this. At the dying minute, Nigerians will always think and decide on whose side they are going to vote for, especially when they consider what that person will talk about or what that person they feel that person will bring on board. As we speak today, if you look at the social media, you see that there's a particular candidate that is trending all the time. But one thing we have been able to understand is you don't win an election on social media. On the other side of the PDP also, Atiku Abubakar have been able to put out his blueprint on economy and development. On the APC side, I don't know when they are going to bring down. But for me as an analyst, it is what the person will play on the day or 2 days before the election that will determine who is going to win the election or not. And in that case, what do you have for the people that they can take home and sleep with and wake up the next day and find out that this is what you said and this is what you can do?
So I'm coming to you, Mr. Olawumi. Do you think we were just days to election? He said it will be difficult to market the APC ticket. As an APC...
In fact, I didn't know you were going to say that. I actually had in mind to respond to that very statement.
Okay.
It would be very wrong to assume that it would be difficult for the APC to market our candidates.
But you know, Nigerians criticized that ticket.
They've
raised a lot of this.
Yes, when you talk about Nigerians, and I do ask people, who are those Nigerians? Who are the Nigerians that are independent in their thinking? Who are those Nigerians that can take decisive decision without being influenced with so many factors? And part of those factors are, one, the leadership probably at various levels, you know. And we now ask yourself, who do these leaders pitch their tent with? If you look at Nigerian setting, he made a statement, and I don't want to subscribe to that statement too. That though, to an extent, religion, tribal, and all sorts probably determine what, but in the real sense of it doesn't. All these things do not come to play most times, because at the level of decision making and taking and talking about that leadership level, none of them thinks about of religion or tribe. We'll see them all around. They don't think as an ordinary Nigerian who is not well informed about the setting called Nigeria. You know, they don't think in that line. So they take decisions based on what comes on board. Comes to the table. And that determines what. And that comes from up and it goes down. And Nigerians, the so-called Nigerians that you think making noise on the social media, in the newspaper, on the streets, will not have a decision of theirs to take. The decisions are being taken and forced.
And you think those traits don't come to the fore when such decisions are being taken?
No. Look at, for example, when our leader Ashwaji Bola Ahmed Tinubu wanted to pick his the deputy. People are told that, okay, because he is from a southwest and a Muslim, and so some that come from the north, but that does not play prominence, and you can relate that to what I've just said earlier. That does not play prominence in the minds of the leaders. In the leaders, yes, it's an ordinary Nigerian who is not informed. Like me, for example, I don't say anything bad in an Igbo person because the president of this country. I don't say anything bad an Hausa become or a Yoruba. We don't think in that.
Provided the right thing will be done. Provided the right thing, you have food on your table.
Provided the right thing will be done, and it will affect Nigerians positively. So I don't have any issue with that. And also, he mentioned that of Wike and probably Makinde playing the tribal wherever. Makinde, if you have been following the trend, you will understand that Makinde and Wike have an alliance. So in that wise, if Wike takes a decision, whether it is right or wrong, whether it supports...
Let me remind you of something. A lot of Nigerians believe religion played a lot of role in the determination of the APC vice presidential candidate. So you can go ahead.
Yeah.
That's the thoughts from the streets, because as a journalist who is always on the streets interacting with people, that is what they always tell you.
That it was picked because a Muslim?
That is to get the votes.
Well, that might be wrong.
Okay.
Now if you understand what was going on before then, why the man when Bola Ahmed Tinubu, our leader and our candidate, he was preparing to become this the candidate of the party. There were quite a number of issues, and a number of people that we expected were going to lend him that support were not actually there, except people from the southwest, and that made that proposition we made regarding Emilokan and all that. Now, at that very material time, the Ganduje and the Shetima, they were the ones that were really taking him here and there, lending him that support. giving him full support. And it will be very, very bad if at that time he wanted to pick, he now moves to the northwest where the president, we have the incumbent, right? So he had to look for somewhere, and indeed the fourth. And it will, if you understand the essence of population, the number, and the number, whether you like it or not, at least from the northwest and the northeast, are enormous, So in that wise, picking Shetima to a greater extent is all about the population, the size, and not religion. If it had been okay, I want people to sympathize with me. I don't want people to think I'm playing the religious card. He will go for a Christian, and that probably might not get him the votes needed to win the election.
I don't know if you agree.
Yes, but we want you not to establish this. We must not run away from the truth. We cannot rule out ethnicity and religion from our political arrangement.
Okay, that means any politician that wants to.
And there's something I would like Mr. Latif to understand. In the minds of the elite, as he has rightly said, they don't think about religion, but they know how to use it against the people to get what they want. That's how they use it.
And that's all I said, that the common man on the street is not well informed. If he is or she is, she will not, or he will not dance to the tune, and that will probably make Nigeria a better place. But as it were, it will take us, I said it when we started that.
So why can't we go, if the elite understand those things, what is stopping us from sending that message down to the grassroots to make them understand that these things do not matter?
Then how would you
if they have the interest of the people at heart, what is stopping us from doing
that? And how would we get Ghana votes?
You see? So we are still coming back to the same thing that it matters. They use it as a play card to get what they want.
So at the end of the day, you've come to agree with me that those things matter to them.
Exactly.
And they've weaponized it.
Maybe by implication.
They've weaponized religion, ethnicity, all these things too. In fact, against the common man, it's not even they know at the end of the day they can still come together.
Exactly.
Irrespective of their religion, because when you hear their names during the sharing, they don't care.
Exactly.
Your religion or any ethnicity. Are you a member of this Kaba?
Exactly.
And you take your share, which is very wrong.
Something.
Instead of thinking about how do we make Nigeria a better place. So 2023 is here, and I know it is the common man, like you said, it is the common man that will decide. And if the common man is able to understand that it is not religion that will sit on the throne, it is not ethnicity that will be there. Nigeria need a Nigerian that will push for their own interests, and so it is the common man that will decide on the street. We have a lot of other papers that we are going to look at and see some of the big stories that will add to the issues we are discussing. All right, we are moving to the Punch. And Punch is still, Queen Elizabeth. Yes, we're talking about the same thing here. Punch is also leading with the Queen's burial. And the Punch is Queen Elizabeth's funeral. World leaders, over 4 billion audience bid farewell. Truss, Boris Johnson, Blair, 4 other ex-prime ministers pay last respect. Obasanjo used, so looking at all this, we were talking about it. So you can imagine the crowd we're talking about.
Exactly.
Imagine that this kind of crowd happens to be within Nigeria. What do you think will happen if we have this kind of crowd in Nigeria?
Well,
so that means the issues we're actually challenging.
Maybe we wouldn't have, but we have had programs. Occasions where a lot of people trooped to the country, and the crowd were able to control the such a crowd. So if we had this kind of, or we'll be able to at least, we are all also organized in our own little.
I think the difference between what we have organized for ourselves and this, for instance, this one has over 500 different government officials at top level, as respected ones, get it, to the ones that we have hosted, maybe the Kogan that we hosted, Chogan we hosted, AU conference, ECOWAS conference, or even our own national day maybe your 1st of October or May 29th transition day, they are quite different. So from the perspective that the UK government have to restrict maybe airplane, automobile movement within the area they are conducting that burial, it was quite significant. And to respect them in area of whereby they now believe so much on climate change, although for African here we still has a perspective, a mixed perspective on what is climate change and the related issues around it.
That's an interesting one for talking about, we in Nigeria, we have a lot of issues, even though we even don't. Okay, like now, when the leaders went to that place, they were not giving preferential treatment. In Nigeria, even if we say we can control crowd, before people will start, okay, I know somebody inside who can get me in. That's one issue that we must always try to understand when we talk about this. But we were talking about APC and the PDP. I don't know. Then I think we should even a lot of issues. You were talking about your candidate. He tried to point out certain things, but do we have a chance that other candidates? Do you think there is competition?
Well,
you feel threatened by the wave of other candidates?
Yeah. Before I go to that, something came to my mind regarding to what he also said. You look at our candidate, for example, when he was governor of Lagos State. It was the first, and I don't think we had that much of that in the past. We had somebody who just bring into his government non-indigenous. The names they're all there. Not Christians, Muslims. He did not care. All he wanted were those that will make positive contribution to the development of Lagos State. Now, in terms of competition, as well now, we know well that the former First President Atiku, he had been and is still part of he had tried to be president of this country, that it wasn't possible for him, and he's still trying to do the same thing now. Why there's no competition as it were now is that our candidate, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is a personality that stands out, and I don't see the Obi, neither Atiku, as any big deal. I wouldn't. It would be wrong.
Even with his popularity with the youth, don't feel threatened.
It would be wrong. Obi, okay, let me give an instance. I was in Lagos before the 2015 election, and people were like, Buhari will not get there. I saw a lot of people somewhere, and they all even almost lynched me for supporting Buhari that very morning, But I knew then that on the street, you just make noise that does not translate to the real thing. So most people that you think are following Obi today, how many of them will go to their various places to cast votes? And average, I'm sorry to say this, an average Hausa man in Lagos will travel down to Kano, Katsina, Zamfara, Borno to cast votes for his or her preferred candidate. But we don't do that. You see, even our elites in the Southwest, a lot of them will they stay back at home. They won't go out to vote. So those that are saying they are doing something for Obi and us, I just flag it off. I want to tell you categorically that Obi cannot make 10% of the coming. The votes in the coming poll. And Dito Atiku Abubakar, the Northwest East. You may quote me. The Northeast is going to give that much support to Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. You remember that Shetima,
despite all the allegations of health leveled against him and all this.
Excuse me, people make a lot of mistake when you talk about somebody's health.
Okay.
We've seen Asiwaju move here and there.
Mm-hmm.
We see, and most of what you see are just maybe Photoshop and all that on the social media, and people
Photoshop
a lot. And the recent when he was having a nap, someone they brought something, a picture.
Was that photo Photoshop?
If that was not safe, that we've seen other world leaders probably having stressed yourself, having it took you long before you slept and all that. It's natural. So and that does not justify the fact that when it becomes
pre-election, we've not even got into the election.
By the time you get to the election, now you get to know how strong Bola Ahmed Tinubu is.
Okay. Do you agree with some of the solutions?
I think he's a politician, or politician will always speak like a politician. I'm a public affairs analyst. I'm a political economist. I speak directly to issues. I will say here to Mr. Latif, there is competition of ideology. One, there's competition of issue-based campaign. Two, there's competition of the leadership quality of the three leading candidates. There's also competition around it, and that's what people are looking at. I won't join people with the issue of they are sleeping, they are not sleeping. For me, as a political economist, is what idea is this guy bringing up? For Tinubu, it has been identified as someone that knows how to scout for talent. And it's also been regarded as somebody that understands physical policies. You know what I mean by physical policy? You talk about taxation, talk about issues that come. Yeah. Then for Obi has been known to somebody that understands how to industrialize economy, industrial economy policy. He understands that. Then for Atiku,
someone that has endeared him with the youth.
Exactly, endeared him to, because he has been making much noise about consuming what we produce. Then for Atiku have been identified with someone that believes so much in privatization, constitutionalization, as well as area whereby we can implement neoliberal policy in the economy, especially government downsizing workers issues. He has been so consistent that. So those are the ideology that is bringing competition to the table. For me, that's how I understand it. And that competition is very strong for urban-based voters who believe so much that one of these candidates could do better than the rest, especially the candidate that have been so much forwarding issue-based campaign, especially on production and employment generation. And that's why I said that in the last 3 weeks, out of these three candidates, one has been very specific in the kind of economic document that is bringing on board. That's a competition. It has laid it before the other two. One has gone to CNN to talk, but he has not brought out his document. The other one has not even spoken to anybody. We don't even know the document that is bringing on, but one has come up with a document. That is the competition for them. So how are the other two faring in this competition of documents that will guide us in our economic development? And that is the key.
He dismissed the fact that there is no competition.
No,
he said no matter what the youth are projecting, they will not be able to get 10% of the vote.
No. I won't. With the level, okay, let's even explore a graph of the voting pattern. Atiku is from the north, Tinubu is from the south, Obi is from the southeast. Now, it takes the vote from the 5 southeast. Is it not more than 10%?
Obi is not just for a southeast candidate.
No. Let's say assume that it took the 5 vote of the 5 eastern states. That is more than 10%. We now come to the southwest.
It's not possible.
Which is not possible. We agree. Now, you now come to the southwest. Out of the 6 southwest, he's still taking a chunk of the vote. Then you now come to the north central. He's still taking some vote. So that your projection of not getting up to 10%, no, let's put it, he will get more than 10%. But with the calculation that everybody is putting on Tinubu's side is that the northeast, the northwest, and the southwest will give him a block vote. What about Atiku? Won't he also fight for vote? Now, the South also, won't he also fight for vote? So, for me, I have said it, and I've said it clearly that as it stands today, it will be 2 days, 3 days until the election results is announced before we will know the final winner. Because some even have been predicted a runoff in this election as it stands today. But nobody should predict that somebody cannot get 10 votes or somebody cannot get 5 votes. It's not possible. Because you know that as it stands, there's a big competition on the voting pattern as it stands. But for me, what is more competitive is what are they going to do and how are they going to get it done on the economic side.
And the youth actually want somebody. We have a lot of graduates who are running the streets because they don't have what to do.
Exactly.
And when they listen to some of the candidates, they are like, if this person gets there, I don't need to know anybody to get a job.
Mm-hmm.
If we create jobs, of course.
Do you know all you have attributed to all these people? All you've mentioned about all these people. Yeah, obviously, Obi has when he was governor of Anambra State, he actually industrialized Anambra State, and we can see you can go to Anambra to see how well industrialized Anambra is. Atiku privatized NITEL. Is their government privatized NITEL? They privatized everything. They privatized NEPA, and we have ACN and all that. And all of those things actually function well after they did. The privatization. So Nigerians know that all these people got nothing to offer us because all what they lay claim to are not there to show for what they're talking about. Tinubu of Lagos State, we can go to Lagos, anybody can go to Lagos. I'm happy I was in Lagos before Tinubu became the governor of the state, and I was mature enough. I was already almost a graduate when he became the governor of the state. I knew how Lagos was. Go to any part of Lagos, but you can go to Lagos today, and it was this very Tinubu that started the Aeron, the power generation, but was not allowed to take up in time. He did a lot of things. He put up. We're talking about economic, political economy. Lagos, I mean, is a good example of a leader that got something upstairs, and then you will see the pattern since he became the governor of the state up to today. They keep doing what brings development and growth, not just development, growth. When I was in Lagos, I got to Lagos in 1995 as a student, and I will go from Oshodi to Yaba, and I know the kind of hell, the terrible situation we're in then. But given the fact that population has increased, we have, and it was expected that the infrastructures will be stretched. But then we still have a good lifestyle in Lagos up to today, and it keeps improving. And that goes to tell us, and go to Anambra State. I'm happy that I've been to the southeast, I've been to the south. I saw all what they put up there, and it want any Nigerian that thinks that these people, the Obio and the likes, will do any better. They are just wasting their time. They are deceiving themselves.
All right, but I want to remind you of something. I want to remind you that Lagos was not just created as a state; it was the Federal Capital Territory.
Yes.
So you should not leave that fact, and then you also attribute everything in Lagos to one governor. So to you, he has said that Tinubu's emergence changed the face of Lagos. Do you subscribe to that ideology, or you have a different perspective?
Actually, I have to confess, I'm from Lagos State. I'm from Lagos.
Okay.
We all agree that Tinubu as a governor did so well. But even with that, we are not going to dispose the other candidate that they cannot do better. Although you have pointed out, okay, what has been done? Can we see the evidence of what he has done? One thing about Tinubu, what he did in Lagos, that we had a master plan for about 25 years, which other predecessors start following.
They are following.
Well, I don't know what happened to the other. Maybe when Obi was governor, he didn't do something like that for a state that could follow. Or when Atiku was vice president, the mismanagement of the privatization policy of the government. But one thing is this: for me, as a political economist, I don't want to dispose any of the candidates that they cannot perform more than if they get there. But the challenge is this: each of the candidates must be able to prepare and tell us what they will do and how they will do it, not until when they get into office.
I remember Tinubu was a major force that sold president
Exactly.
to us.
Exactly.
Why are we not campaigning on the president's achievements?
Well, very soon.
We are using Lagos.
Why
are we using Lagos?
When I made mention that it's very difficult to market the APC candidate, my thinking and my shape of mind was going to the present government attitude and character of development. Because that is supposed to be the bane of how to
maybe I should give an answer to that.
Okay.
If you look at this government, I said it earlier on that this government does due to misconception on the part of, Nigerians, that there have been so much on ground to talk about this government. We move from this country, we see what development this government has brought on board. Let's not, because we feel bad about a particular personality, maybe probably the leadership, probably the leader of this country, then we go to say that, okay, we have not done anything. We have done a lot of things. We travel on the road. We travel by, we do all this, and we can see how immensely this government has impacted on Nigerians. Our roads are there. We'll soon come up with showcase what projects this government did when it came on board, and what the one they are still doing. There are roads to show, the airways, the airport, the seaport, the military hardware that have been procured. Nigerian military is said to be, almost probably second to none in Africa today. So it goes to tell us that whether we like it or not, people talk about security. Now, security, I do tell people that we make a lot of mistake when we attribute the security problem in this country to the president alone. We have our local government, we have our various communities. When you talk about, we started talking about the Queen, the England, the British people, and you mentioned how you remember colonization and all that. And you can imagine, despite the little thing they have over there, they are living fine, they are living very good life. We are unable to translate those things we have at our various places to something tangible that will affect our life positively. The local government, we have our towns, we have traditional rulers in our communities, we have our local government chairman, we have the governor, we have the legislators that they represent probably at the national level or the state. What contribution do each and every one of us make to developing this country? So in the area of security that people hammer much on, talk much about, I try to ridicule this government. It's all our problem, it's all our fault. And until when we come to that,
have we empowered the local leaders to actually do their job?
Now, when you talk about empowerment, I'm happy I was part of years back local government, and we as leaders, it's all about, if you see something succeed at that level, it's all about you, the leader. And if you see something succeed at the national level, is a collection of the activities of all the leaders across board, local government chairmen across, the governors across, and we all play in our own various ways to do the needful. If you look at now various places, for example, now in my own community as an example, those guys that smoke India hemp, those cultists, all of them, they are within our environment. But we don't really talk about all this. It is a collection of all this that we have bigger crimes out there. And people think, okay, some people just wake up somewhere and become criminals. No, it all starts from all these various places.
There's trust deficit between the government and the people.
Why is the trust deficit? It's still within the grassroots, because the person that becomes the president of this country comes from a particular place. The person that becomes the governor of the state.
But there's a gap. He has gone and forgotten where he came from.
It is the people.
He has lost touch with the people. I want to let you know that there's a gap
now
between the government and the government.
Yes, the gap is due to the fact that the government themselves have been talking about people use their sense. The government themselves are the problems, basically. The leader is from among them. Whatever level the leader gets, it's from among them. And you see, I don't understand why we are going backward. Years back, I grew up in Ibadan. Years back, we had a house built by a government, a Western region government, maybe
do we still have such things going on? Even the mass housing we're talking about, is it affordable?
Is it affordable? So who do we blame?
We blame the government.
Yes, are those people that go to leadership, do they not? Are they not giving, for example,
most of them benefited from those things.
Those things. At the end of it all, the president of the country, they have a meeting or wherever, and they disburse funds to the states and local government. Do those leaders at those various levels?
We have the issue of local government autonomy, which
the president tried to move and they killed it.
Good.
And who killed it?
I don't know why we're not able to achieve that.
But
you hold your thoughts. I will hear from.
I like the way Mr. Latif responded. He showed that he's a real stalwart of APC and he's a core politician in Nigeria. But from my own perspective, is this: when you talk about, he made mention of something that I was very interested. He said our leaders are in the community, like the local government chairman in the community. The local government chairman that you cannot even see. A councillor, you can't see him or her.
Whose fault?
Is it
the president's fault?
Now, whose fault? It wasn't even the choice of the people. If it were to be the choice of the people, they don't have access to it. Yeah. Imagine if someone that is a teacher becoming a councillor in his ward, that is at his own house in that place. Who are the people? Would they not have access to him? But someone that comes from the city center becoming a councillor, or someone that is coming from the city center, urban center, becoming a chairman, and he has his family in the city center, who will have access to him? Nobody will have access to him.
The way it is done, if any particular party becomes the governor,
he nominates everybody.
They are not elected; they are selected
and put into a position of authority.
So I disagree with you.
So there's I'm telling you.
I disagree with you.
You have a plateau example to give you.
Well, can you give me an example?
Okay, let's even look at.
You are from Island.
Yes,
tell me about your local government.
I will not talk about Island because
let me tell you.
A long time. Let me give an example.
I'll give you benefits.
Okay.
All the area council chairmen are from the PDP since the man swapped.
Exactly.
And we have a lot other. There's no place where APC is ruling that they conduct election and another political party will become the chairman.
Exactly.
If you know one, Give me.
Okay, if I'm to give you my example of my own local government, Lagos Island local government,
Okay.
the present local government chairman of Lagos Island or the LCD, all of them don't have their houses on Lagos Island. They have their houses on the mainland, either Victoria Island or the. So who should I blame? Do the people, do they even have access to participate in the political parties?
That's where Nigerians, I keep saying that Nigerians are not, a lot of them are not informed. This party politics, for example, now if some of us that are playing prominence in party activities, they'll be looking at us as fools. Look at them.
Nobody look at you as fools.
I'm coming. They will say that they waste their time. If you don't get informed, that local government chairman that is picked or that will be picked,
they were sons and daughters. They were sons and daughters of former politicians in that local government.
Whether they are sons or daughters,
they use an entire local government.
And let me for example, in Lagos Island, I go with you. No, I will give you. When you ask me for example, I'll quickly remember what happened transpired in my local government when they were about to nominate people for grassroots people who come out to contest for local government chairman. They swapped their names.
Okay,
they lost out.
Let me give you an instance. Kamal, who happened to be my mate in university, became local government chairman of Island. I think maybe 2003 or so. You know, before then became a councillor. Then 2003 became around that. He is from Island. He's been staying in Island. So if you tell me
now up to
are you in Island now?
I'm not in Island, but I have information about.
So I know what I'm saying is that the
campaign you are making, you now one of the kingmakers in Lagos Island
because you are from Island. You should live all your life in Island. Is that what you are saying?
No. So if you want to participate in the grassroots politics, which we call local government, they stay there.
So who tells you that those? Let me use my local government as an example. You mentioned that they bring somebody from elsewhere. When we're in the council, the councillors are from among us. That place, and they stay. But unfortunately, most times when people get to power, it is the fault of the people in that very community that makes people what they become.
Because they are living in poverty. So they will come to your doorstep and be asking you for Gary.
Who has even recognized poverty?
Who exactly? The people themselves.
No.
Now, let me give instances.
No.
Let me give you instances, which I thank God why I'm happy that I'm into politics. When we were much young, very, very young, those people, the military governors, then will come to my town, and the people will be hailing them. I've never hailed anyone. People, the roads will not be tight. The road will be bad, but when they were coming, you see people troop out to welcome and cheer them up. Now, if you are a good person yourself and you understand that you need something good and you think the leader should be made to do the right things, you will not hail people unnecessarily. Now, your local government chairman that failed to put things properly in place, in place properly. When the governor is coming, will bring you out, he'll give you a Ashwebi, and you'll be praising. Why don't you, as people of that
those
very
set
community,
of people that the local government chairman will colonize and use are not people that really are impacted with those things. These are the people who are party stewards, who are eating from the local government chairman, who are what they call people that collect utility contracts from the local government chairman.
Why don't you, as good ones, now come out and say,
how would you have access to it?
You have access to it. You go to the road and
okay, you said they should go and protest.
And tell the governor this is what the chairman has been doing. You have leaders, you have community leaders.
But you think he's not aware? You think the governor is not aware?
They are all aware of
until when you still bring it out so that they understand that you people understand that they are being
right,
look at like Nigerians.
Time is no longer on our side. In fact, also let me get your closing thoughts. So as we come to 2023, we just try to.
Yes, as we come to 2023, I just like we've been talking. Nigeria was colonized by the British, and we still went there to celebrate that colonization by extension, and thank God. And the same thing, Nigerians should understand that as 2023 is coming, we should wake up and do the right thing, and select leaders that will help this country move forward. And of course, like we've been talking about the development in Lagos State, we have a leadership that we can trust in Asiwaju, and I want to believe that Nigerians will come out and fight massively for Asiwaju.
You are campaigning.
Yeah.
I think for me, the key thing is this: Nigerians must open their eyes, open understanding. What is this leaders coming to tell them they will do? Is it about the economy? Is it about education? Is it about health? Let it be something that will be practical, something that will be actionable, and something that people can feel at the end of the day, so that this poverty level can reduce, and we'll not be talking about inflation eating much of the purchasing power of the people.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. All right, viewers, that is what you can take on today's edition of Inside Nigeria. Keep a date with us tomorrow as we bring more exciting views to your screens. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching. For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.